He lists his recreations in Who's Who as smoking, drinking, swearing, and pressing wild flowers. Ladies and gentlemen, Stephen Fry. I didn't see the hat properly.
Well, I assumed it was National Hat Week, so I got my favourite Queen Mother number.
Put it on, let's have a look.
What do you reckon?
It's very, very cute. No, it was made for you, that hat. With you in mind, I think, don't you?
Literally untrue, yes.
OK, good to see you. What about this Dallas thing? Were you a Dallas fan?
I'm afraid I was an enormous Dallas fan. There was a kind of line in blood dividing two types of people in Britain in the early 80s, and they were Dynasty people and Dallas people, and I was firmly in the Dallas camp. I just thought they were brilliant. I dreamt, as most normal, healthy teenagers dream of representing England in their chosen sport, I dreamt of appearing in Dallas. I dreamt of being done down by JR. You're a loser, Boris, you'll never beat me. You know, all that kind of stuff. I love all that. You go buy yourself something real pretty now, you hear? And I used to love it. And I noticed you doing that wonderful thing of making foreign have one syllable. Foreign.
Foreign?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you put a D in business as well.
Business?
Business, yeah. I love that. I've been in the old business.
All business.
And those wonderful steer horns you had on the car.
Oh, yeah.
Which I noticed you're wearing there, which is very good.
Oh, yeah. Careful with my horns.
Exactly. It was terrific. I mean, of course, it summed up the age, didn't it?
It did very much so. Yes, it did. That's why it's so successful, of course.
It was also a great rest home for wonderful old actresses like Barbara Bell Geddes and Donna Reed and all this sort of... No, I mean, they were gracefully entering the evening of their careers.
Yes, you're...
So am I.
Yes, no. It was great to see them.
What about homegrown soaps? Have they had the same fascination for you? Have you ever imagined you might appear in one of them?
I'm officially an Archers addict. There is a club called the Archers Addicts, and I'm a member of that. And I do love the Archers. It's an old cliche to say that the scenery is better in radio, and of course it is true. You can picture yourself. And there happens to be a wonderful character called Bert Fry in the Archers, and so I fantasise that I'm his scapegrace nephew who's gone to London and minces around in an embarrassing fashion. He's too ashamed to say that he's related to me, so one day they might ask me on.
But not television?
Yeah, well, I have to confess I'm a little bit of a soft spot for EastEnders. Though I have a slight problem with it, which is that if you ever go to London, we're in London now, for example, so you've obviously been. Particularly the East End, most of the time is spent with people laughing and bantering with each other. In EastEnders, when you watch it, it is nothing but unrelieved, terrible misery. And so it's rather like watching a programme about people from another planet who only have one ear, for example. It's just, to me, these are aliens. They are people who get through their life without ever making jokes. And when I loved Coronation Street, when I used to watch in the late 70s and early 80s, at least it was funny. I mean, it had a kind of almost Rob Wilton, Les Dawson kind of humour. I remember, who was that wonderful Bette Lynch, Judy Goddard. I remember her sitting like that, a bit Rob Wilton-like, in the bar, and a man came in, and Betty Turpin next said, "Oh, he's nice." And she looked at him and said, "I wouldn't have him if he came with nested tables." Very bizarre. And I think they need a bit of that in EastEnders. But one thing which is seriously true, I think, is the acting is terribly good. I know they go...
in EastEnders?
Yeah.
It is.
They go
excellent.
Overboard about these awards and everything, and congratulations, by the way, young Michael.
Thank you,
Finals
thank you.
being recognised.
Oh, it's very
But, it's good stuff. They're given... I mean, every week one of them's got to burst into tears. It's quite extraordinary if you watch. All of them, not one single member hasn't. Even Doc Cotton's cried. So they all do. But I don't think they'd ever ask me to be in it because I don't quite cut a very East London dash,
No, but you could come in as kind of... Your car could break down outside the...
I say, you fellows, you wouldn't mind assisting me, would you, with my automobile? Right. And a pint of foaming best bit of every jack in the house.
That's it. Here, you talking to me or chewing a brick, you say.
Right,
Listen, let's... In your... paperback of your book, you say Stephen Fry was born in the 20th century and will die in the 21st, which is indisputable. In the course of writing 6 books, he's drunk 412,000 cups of coffee, smoked 1.5 million cigarettes, and worn out 19 pairs of trousers.
Yes.
Is that an accurate assessment?
I would say that's
are you
more or
just
less
showing
right.
off?
No, I think that's probably true. I know Mr. Hagman's not very keen on smoking, are you?
No.
I believe that's right. I heard a story, in fact. You can whether it's right or not. A friend of mine was in a restaurant in Los Angeles, possibly in Malibu, which I think is your neck of the woods, and somebody, this was before the California smoking laws came into being, lit up. And you stood up and said you'd buy a drink for everyone in the restaurant if there was no smoking. Is that right? Or is it a...
You gotta be
canon?
kidding. I wouldn't do anything like that.
What a
Hell no.
shame. I so wish
I might
that
have
was
pulled
true.
out my little electric fan and fanned him with
You
it.
do that as well, don't
Yeah,
you?
right. I can do that.
What's interesting, of course, is how you started smoking.
How I started? Yeah, that is interesting.
Tell us how you...
Not interesting so far, Larry,
Well,
I would say.
Well, I was going to school in Vermont, and I was going with a girl. I was 13, and I was going with a girl 16. Now, that's a big spread in those days, you know. And so she said, if you take a puff of this cigarette, I'll let you put your hand on my breast. I smoked for 20 years after that.
Oh, God. So you were a 40-breast-a-day man, were you? Oh, word.
That's really good. Yeah, I am.
But what about
You know that Churchill story, talking breast? Sorry to interrupt.
Go.
He was in America, and he'd been invited to a very smart dinner. And he wrote during the dinner, some flunky had come round, and he said, breast for me, I don't like breast. And the hostess said, oh, Mr. Churchill, in America we say white meat and dark meat. We don't say breast. And the next day, as a thank you, he sent a little corsage of flowers and with a little note saying, for your white meat. Rather pleasing.
Lovely. But,
Anyway.
but what about the writing business? I mean, what's the process of it? Because there's 2 distinct, Stephen, more than 2, there's many, but you're the writer and you're the performer. Both argue for different kind of approaches. What about the writing?
It's very, very different when I write. I have a most peculiar regime, really. It starts that I begin to get into a book, and I'm getting up at about sort of 8 or 9 in the morning and start writing it. And then the more I get into it, the earlier and earlier I rise. Until the last book, I was getting up at 3:30 in the morning. It's absurd, because a lot of writers write at night, and I sort of do, except that I get up, write, and then go to bed about 5 in the afternoon. Yeah. But a peculiar thing happens. I don't know whether you found this when you were writing your book, but when things are going well, time takes on a completely different kind of meaning. And you'll get up, you've written, you know this as well, you know, and as I say, it might be 5 o'clock in the morning, say, if it's an average morning, and you make yourself a cup of coffee and you look out the window, fart twice and do a morning sort of regime, and then sit down. And I usually have a sentence to finish. It was Graham Greene, actually, had the marvellous advice for young writers that at the end of every day, leave half a sentence. You know, leave a sentence unfinished. So next morning you've got something immediately to start on. Yeah. So, and I'd do that. And I'd look at my watch and it would suddenly be 3 in the afternoon. Time just completely disappears. I had a rather peculiar experience writing this book because I was about, I don't know, a tenth of the way through it. And I'd got the plot outlined in my head. And one night I woke up and sat bolt upright, staring and screaming, as I realised that I was in the process of writing The Count of Monte Cristo, which has already been written, as you may know, as memorably said in The Shawshank Redemption by Alexandra Dumbass. And so I thought, damn, this is such a good story, and oh God, it's The Count of Monte Cristo. So I went to a number of bookshops, got as many editions of The Count of Monte Cristo as I could find, and discovered Dumas himself had stolen the story. So I felt better about that, and then I thought, well, do I say based on The Count of Monte Cristo? And I thought, I can't do that. So what I did is all the characters' names are anagrams of the original French characters. Right. So Edmond Dantes is the hero of the French. So mine's called Ned Madstone. The girlfriend is called Mercedes in the original, so mine's called Porsche, which is not it's kind of connected, if you see what I mean. But oddly enough, when the hardback came out, no critics in England got it. A French one did. My French translator got it instantly. But it is such a wonderful story. It's revenge, which is, you know, one of the primal stories we have. A young person getting dumbed down by people he thought were his friends, going to prison, or not prison in this case, but something very close to it, and then coming back to wreak a terrible revenge. And revenge is a peculiar thing. It's always fascinated me. I suppose, you know, it's always been a great subject. Hamlet, after all, one of the greatest works we have in the English language, is a revenge tragedy. And those of us who watched the awful events of 11th of September, as they're now officially called, the awful events, I don't know what else one can call them, really.
Yes.
Revenge, of course, was something that was instant in everybody's heads. And while, you know, I had a cousin who works down there, and fortunately was away that morning, and otherwise would have died, I suspect.
Well, were they away ill?
No, I had a breakfast meeting, you know, uptown. It was just one of those fortunate things. But a friend of his, and this is, to me, one of the weirdest things, had their birthday on Monday the 10th, and their mother gave them a shirt. And it was an awful shirt. It was grotesque. It was an insult to the shirt maker's art. And so the next morning, Tuesday the 11th, on his normal commute, as Americans call it, he stopped off at Brooks Brothers, or wherever it was, Midtown, to change it for a better shirt. And as he was coming out, the first plane hit. It hit his office. And so he was to be found, kind of weeping in bars, staring at things, saying, if my mum had good taste, I'd be dead. You know, and that's literally true.
That's
and it
yes,
makes one think about the whole process of this, is that our lives are so contingent, they hang on such absurd threads, that there's his mother's hand in Brooks Brothers. She's like, I'll get this shirt, no, I get this one. How can she know that one movement of the hand means death for her beloved son, and the other one means the miraculous escape? You either go mad as a result of this, because the universe seems so absurd, you can't construct any sensible view of how any kind of higher power, as you'd call it, or any kind of divinity could possibly have any benevolent view of us if they can create such a random universe in which nothing makes sense. Or you take the arrogant and absurd view that somehow you were specially marked out by the divinity, which is the first step to a kind of madness, really, isn't it? Because it's saying that 3,999 others were despised by God and he let them die happily.
Which can't be true.
Which can't be true.
No. What's your feeling about all that, Larry? I mean, you as an American, I mean, you've seen what's happened to your country. I mean, what's your feeling about it now?
Well, it's helplessness, of course.
Yes.
Here's this obscure man who's brought America to its knees, so to speak.
Yes.
And I'm a firm believer in preemptive revenge myself. But there's nothing we can do about it. What we're doing is dreadful. I think it's dreadful. We're going to destroy a country and kill hundreds of thousands of people, but I don't know of any other, I mean, there doesn't seem to be any other recourse.
I used to be very fond of chess, and there was a great Dutch grandmaster called Max Euwe, who had a wonderful saying about chess, which is true in life, which is that the best move to play in a game of chess, because it's against another person, is not necessarily the best chess move, but it's the move your opponent least wants you to play. And I just wonder if anyone in America has ever thought, let's do the thing that Mr. Bedlinin, or whatever he is, least wants us to do. Because I don't think it's what they're doing now. I don't think what they're doing now is what Bin Laden is really...
What would it be?
There are various ways you could think about it. One might be to go into Afghanistan with genuine food aid. I mean, really make, as it were, a sort of an open, unconditional act of, as it were, international friendship towards Afghanistan.
But you can't.
The other thing would be...
That's occurred to me. It occurred to me in the Vietnam War. If we had given every Vietnamese citizen a car and a house, it would have been a lot cheaper and better for everybody.
Yes, exactly. And you don't have to be a Christian to believe that turning the other cheek is actually an incredibly strong response. Only the strong can do it.
But I don't think human beings have that kind of revenge system. They want an eye for an eye, and I don't think it ever works. But
doesn't.
I don't know any other way to respond.
Well, we remain confused about the entire thing. But you mentioned the Dutch.
Yes.
And only grab hold of that as a way of changing the conversation now to something a bit lighter, perhaps, because, in fact, in one of the films that you've got waiting to come out now, you play a Dutch man, don't you?
I do. I play a Dutchman, yep.
And how do you manage with the language?
Het is een lekkere taal. It's, as they say in Holland, it's a beautiful language. Besides de Tweede Wereldoorlog moest de fine Nederlandse tulpenballen eten. Scheveningen.
Yeah.
I was just saying that during the Second World War, a lot of Dutch people had to eat tulip bulbs. It's one of the few things I know for certain in Dutch, apart from a lot of rude words, which obviously you get taught on the set. It's an English language film, actually.
Yes.
It's called The Discovery of Heaven, and it's based on a novel which is sort of the great Dutch novel of the 20th century. It's sort of like, I don't know what would be the equivalent in England, something like Lord of the Flies or Catcher in the Rye, something that every school child learns at school because it's so sort of great and important. Actually, I didn't even need to know what the story was because I got this call from my agent saying there's a film, it's shooting in Amsterdam and around Holland, in Rome, Seville, Cuba and Jerusalem. Do you want to be in it? Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I'll do that. Definitely.
So what's the future then, Stephen? You're publicising this book at present, and then...
Yes, I did a film with Robert Altman, which is extremely enjoyable as well.
Of course, our next guest, Cher, she's done a couple
She's
of
done
movies
a couple, indeed, she has, and that was a great thrill. I'm hoping to direct a film, actually. I did an adaptation of Evelyn Waugh's second novel, Vile Bodies.
That's a wonderful book.
Which is a marvellous book, and I think, very much of our time. It's about clubbing, essentially, except they put the word night in front of it, so it sounds more old-fashioned to say nightclub than club, but essentially it's clubbing and it's drugs and it's drink and it's speed in every sense of the word. The newly discovered thrill for cars and things between the war, and this kind of group of young people. And it's also about paparazzi and about celebrity, and it's just everything modern, but set in an age in which people dressed better.
So nothing's changed?
Nothing's
changed at all?
You haven't got part for American in there, do you, boy?
Well, there is fun enough. Yeah, we'll see what we can do. Oh, God, it'll be such fun.
OK, for the moment, Stephen Fry, thank you very much indeed. Stephen Fry. My final guest tonight is a singer, an actress, director, fashion icon and survivor. She's one of the most enduring and popular stars in the world of entertainment. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome please, Cher! The question that all the girls in the office want to know is why you've gone blonde.
Well, I haven't gone blonde. It's just a wig.
It's not a wig.
It's a wig. Trust me, I have long black hair.
No, you're putting me
So the collars and cuffs don't match in Hong Kong.
No. It's just, it's just an extension of my clothes.
Why a blonde wig?
Well, because I've had a red one, and I've had all different colors, and I just thought this would be fun.
Your ma was blonde, wasn't she?
Yep, my mom was blonde, my sister was blonde, my children are blonde.
He's our deepest interviewer, Michael.
I
am.
He gets right to the heart of things. Beneath the surface.
You don't know what's coming next. You just ruined the marvel. I was burrowing there like a mole underneath.
I once got into terrible trouble because of you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I went to see Wild.
Oh, right.
Oh, it's a good film.
With my trainer and my assistant, and we just popped out of the house, caught a cab, went down to see it, and I was sobbing, just sobbing my heart out as it was over, and I was walking out to the theater, and my mascara was running all over my face, and I opened the door, and in the lobby it was filled with paparazzi, and I wasn't expecting it, and there was no place to go, and they didn't, they allowed them to be there, and then I couldn't catch a cab, so they were just walking up and down the street with me, and I'm sobbing and cursing and sobbing and cursing you, and
It must have done great harm to your Maybelline contract.
oh no, I don't have any.
I know you didn't.
But it was great. But it was so, I just loved it so much.
Well,
He was very good in that, wasn't he?
Oh, it
Excellent.
was just
Very touching,
fabulous.
yeah.
It was like he was channeling him.
Yeah, that's right. And then, but because your daughter declares she's gay, all of a sudden you become have a different attitude towards it.
I think, first of all, it made me question everything about being a mother. About, if I'd only baked more cookies, if I hadn't had a career, and if I'd done this, and I felt a tremendous amount of guilt, and I also felt badly because I thought, oh, now because she is my daughter, they're just going to hound her unmercifully. This is such a hard life choice for her because of me, and so I just thought, oh, this is just going to be so hard. This is going to be such a hard choice for her.
I think I took it, and I think a lot of the gay community took it, is actually that it was very brave of you, because no one questions that you are gay-friendly, or whatever word you want to use about it. And so many people in similar circumstances might have been all lovely in public about how gorgeous and pleased they were, but then in private being horrible. But you were just being honest. You were just saying it isn't that straightforward a thing if you're a mother. And I think any gay person can understand that. That's why they're
What
delicate.
did your parents say when you told them?
I think they'd known for such a long time for some reason.
I mean, it wasn't you didn't have to go and say, oh, by the way, Mum and Dad, you
No,
know
I think
that...
that my first words as I was being born was I looked up at my mother and said, that's the last time I'm going up one of those.
Refreshing.
No, they were absolutely terrific. They were. I mean, but I think, and it's by no means hedging how terrific they were to say that I have a brother and a sister who both have children, and I can imagine if you're a parent and you have one child, the prospect of not being a grandmother it's a real thing, you know, and it's something to think about.
Yes,
and
that's right. Well, you've obviously thought about this, and your daughter has too.
Yeah.
No doubt.
And, well, I mean, I think that one of them is going to make me a grandmother, and I'm just not sure which one it's going to be.